Okay, in the previous video, we showed how to create an application consistent snapshot of a file system that contained DB2. And by doing some pre-post scripting, we were able to place DB2 into hot backup mode, and so what we create is an application consistent image of a DB2 database. In this video, we're going to take that instant mount and actually use it. So, if we go back to my Actifio desktop, you can see my /db2 data from LPAR3. What I'm going to do is mount it, and I'm going to mount it to a different LPAR, which is LPAR5, because we're going to do some instant test and dev. And to do this, I do a mount to LPAR5 /db2 data. All looks good. Hit submit. And then what Actifio does is it actually mounts it up to my database. So if I do a DF right now on DB2 LPAR5, you can see I'm logged onto LPAR5. I don't have a DB2 data folder, and I'm waiting for that instant mount to appear. So now my job 23888, which is my mount job, is succeeded. So if I log on to my LPAR5 and do a DF, I can see ActMount job 23888 is right there. So in other words, the job that I requested to do the mount has created a mount, and it's put it into this location. Now, this all looks good, and it's all very simple. My only problem with it is this: the DB2 is fussy, or requires that the file structure of my mount be exactly the same. There is some ways to convince DB2 to bring it up in a different file system structure, but I really want to avoid that if I can. So given the fact that on LPAR3, here I am on LPAR3, in /db2 data, I have a folder called db3db1 directly in db2 data. I really want the same here. But instead what I have is, instead of db2 data, I have this act mount job mount point, and db3db1, which is my database directory, is inside that mount point, which isn't really ideal. So what we're going to do is I'm actually going to undo that good work, and I'm going to unmount and remount it. So I grab my mount, I choose the unmount delete option, I hit submit, and I wait for that unmount job to complete. So my unmount and delete option, unmount and delete job rather, completed. Here it is, successful. So if I go back to LPAR5 and do a DF again, I'll notice that act mount job is gone. So what I'm now going to do is go back to Actifio, and I'm going to go back to there, and I'm going to do a mount. So I have the same point in time, I do a mount, but I'm going to do something slightly different. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to mount it to a specific place. And this is a great feature in Actifio CDS 6.0 code, which lets me select the mount point. I'm going to choose /. Now that might sound a little strange, but remember, DB2 data was in the root directory, so I want it to be there. The only gotcha will be is if DB2 data already exists there, you need to remove that directory, provided nobody's using it, because otherwise you'll get a clash and you'll see it mount into a DB2 data _1. So we never try and use something that already exists. Hit submit. Now what I'll do is I'll show you a little bit of magic. And this is something you don't normally have to look at, but if I go and look at the UDS agent logs in /ax/log, what you'll actually see is what the connector does to get that mount to work. Now, AX is not the simplest operating system. There's a lot of work that needs to be done around detecting the disk with config manager, changing the PVIDs, detecting the volume groups in the file systems, and actually bringing this whole collection of constructs, which is a very mature collection of constructs, online. And what you can see is the connector does all the necessary work. It's an absolute thing of beauty, and it really makes the administrator's life easy, because notice there's no need to log on as root to do any of this stuff. Actifio is doing it all for me. And if I can see down the bottom here, I can see that there's some mount point stuff already being done. So I know we're probably about done. So if I clear all this off the screen and do a DF, what I see now is something really nice, which is that there's a new mount, which has come from Actifio, and it's on /db2 data. Wow. So now if I do a minus, if I go and list that, I'll see my db3db1 directory, which is the database directory for my database. This is brilliant. Okay, so I've got everything I need from a physical perspective. Now I've got to convince DB2 to actually find the database in that place. So I have a couple of commands that I've already got pre-done up here. The first one is this, the DB2 catalog command. Now notice I have to be logged on as a user that can run DB2 commands. My DB2 inst1 is the user ID for that instance. I'm going to catalog that database as that database on, the location that the database is currently on. So that works, that's fine. You get this catalog database command completed successfully. What I then do is I initialize that database as a snapshot. Now, what that command does, and this is again a unique DB2 command, is it actually tells DB2, well, go and actually check out this database, get it ready for use. If there's any logs, roll them forward, play them out, and get this thing ready. And understand that it's a snapshot of a running database from somewhere else. That's what that as snapshot is effectively telling DB2. This command, for this example, runs really quick. You can see the tool completed successfully. Now what I can do is I can start DB2. I can connect to my database, BB3 DB1. I can list the tables in the database, and I could select data from a table in the database. Now, I just want to show you one last little trick, which is that here I am on AXLPAR3. Remember, this is the LPAR where the DB2 database came from, and I can do exactly the same thing because each AXLPAR is effectively using its own copy of that database. And my copy that I've mounted up here is application consistent and was ready to go in a matter of seconds. All right, obviously now you can do test and dev. When you're finished with test and dev, then you can uncatalog the database. So I can do a connect reset just to get off that database. Quit out of DB2, and I could run the DB2 uncatalog database BB3 DB1. All right, that's been done, and we're now ready to go. Thanks for your time.